Hello, Stitchy friends. On one of my recent floss tube videos, I was showing some whips and trying to decide which one I wanted to focus on, as if that would even be possible for me to focus on just one chart. And I shared this one, and you can see that it is gridded. And someone asked me to share a little bit more information about how I grid my fabric. So when I'm doing large projects that involve a lot of counting or a lot of detail or maybe a lot of confetti stitches, then I like to go ahead and grid my fabric. I don't do that for everything. Like even my big samplers, I haven't done that. But this is Winter Snowfall by Shannon Christine Designs. And this chart, there's a lot of beads, like all these little drips that you see here. They go in here, and those will be beads. So the stitching is spaced out pretty far, and there's a lot of detail up here in the banding. So I just find it a lot easier to go ahead and grid my fabric, and that helps keep me on track to let me know for sure that I'm not off count, because I can compare my stitches with my grid, with the grid on the fabric. To grid my charts, I use a product called Count Guideline. It is like a red fishing line material. It doesn't say the gauge. This one package contains 100 yards, so I bought this several years ago and I have not emptied it yet, and there's still a whole bunch on there. And what you do is you basically stitch, let me see if I can grab a needle so I can point. Hopefully this is in focus. This is on like an 18 count Aida. So you stitch with this grid lined fabric, you bring your needle up and you go over 6 stitches and go down, under 4, up 6, under 4, up 6, and you do that in both directions, and you end up with this little T shape here, which is the cross section of the lines on your pattern. So to do that, on a pattern like this, I would have started close to a corner and just done the whole grid for the size of the pattern. So I can tell by looking at my fabric that this is how large my finished chart will be. And today I'm going to show you how I start gridding my fabric. I have this Dimensions Santa's Truck Stocking Kit that I want to start soon, and I want to grid that. This is one of those projects that has like a lot of confetti stitches. It's an unusual shape, and Dimensions kits have a lot of colors and a lot of detail. So I want to grid my fabric to make it a little easier for me to stitch. So to start off, I have just a regular needle, and I've cut off a length of this Count Guideline. And I'm just going to thread my needle with a really long piece, probably about a yard. And because a stocking is such an unusual shape, I am going to start in the middle. And I don't really want to show the chart, but we're basically going to make a grid that fits the stocking shape. Again, since the stocking is an unusual size, I am going to start in the middle, which is, yeah, right here, right where the mirror of the truck is. I am going to use the Aida that comes in the kit, so it's folded in half. I'll fold it in quarters and just pinch to find my center. And then we're going to call this side the back. So to start off, I am going to just weave my guideline under several of the Aida threads, like so, just to kind of anchor it in place. I'm also not going to pull it all the way through. I'll leave enough of a tail to get out to the edge. You can see on this piece that when I anchored it, I would go under some stitches, make a loop, and come back on itself, so it's kind of like a U shape. And I'll do that on the side. I don't really want that extra bulk to be in my stitching area. But just running under a few stitches there will anchor it down for now. And then I'm going to come up 3 stitches below the center point. Oh, I guess I should have done that the other direction. Since we've got it running this direction, I'll do left to right first. So we'll do 3 stitches to the left of the center point. It really doesn't matter. I could have gone the other direction. And make sure to leave that tail so I can anchor it better over here. Now I'm going to flip that over, and then I'm just going to do an over 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go down and take my needle to go over 4 stitches. And just pull it like that. Not super tight because I don't want to pull out my stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Down, go over 4, come back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Down, go over 4, come back up. And I am going to keep doing that. So here's my center. And I can even put a little mark on my chart. So we need our center 1, 2, and we'll go 3 because that's where the width of my stocking ends. So here's my center, 1, 2, so I'm going to do 1 more. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And instead of going up 4, I'm going to come 4 plus 3 is 7, mathing. 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go, 7. Okay, and then I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, see, I goofed. This line here should be in the center here. So let's undo that real quick. Never fails. I always end up goofing it up once or twice until I get the hang of it. I don't do it very often. I don't grid very often, but when I do, it's very helpful. Okay, so I don't lose it this time. I'm actually going to come up at the center point of this grid. Then at this point it's really easy to see because this is 3. So 1, 2, 3. Come up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'll start going the next row. And this time I'll go all the way across. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I find it very difficult to do the sewing method when I am going from left to right. It's much easier for me to do right for left. So I'm actually going to rotate this. And then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 4. So I've passed my center point here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 4. So this part is very repetitive and can be honestly kind of dull. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to this side. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. So I don't need that one there. Then I will find my hole and I will just go up. So I should have, according to my chart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 total. Nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tried but failed at coming up in the right spot. Turn it back around, so I'm going left to right. This is some very stiff Aida. It will soften up over time, but right now it is very stiff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I normally do stitch in hand, but even if you don't, it would probably be good to do this part in hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. because you're going back and forth across the entire width of the fabric. So that would be a lot of hoop moving if you tried to do it in a hoop. One, two, three, four, five, six. And I'm just going to keep doing this until I run out of thread. Okay, so I've gotten to almost the end of my thread. So now I'm going to flip this over to the back. And I'm just going to weave it under some of the strands of the Aida. This needle that they gave me in this kit is very large. I am going to have to replace it. So I'll go under quite a few stitches. 7 or 8. Come out, and then I'll turn around, skipping the last one, and come back just a few. Now, the reason for that is because just coming out straight would hold it steady for you. It would keep it from pulling out. But I found that when I was stitching, if I left it sticking out straight, these little pokey ends would scratch against me and it was just uncomfortable. So I always loop it back under just to keep that from scratching me. And I do like to keep these woven in ends outside of my stitching area. That way my strands of floss are usually only going over 1, at most 2 pieces of this material. So now I'll go back to where I started and I'll just pull that out. It was just anchoring it for me at the time. And then I will continue going to go to down here, and then I'll weave it under because there wouldn't be enough to make it back across another time. So that's what I'll do now. Okay, and then just like I did before, I'll weave it under a bunch of threads. And then come back a few. You'll notice it kept falling out of my needle quite a bit. Partly that's because this needle is so huge. So I'm going to switch to a DMC 24 needle. I don't know, maybe this is a 22 and I'm just not used to a 22. I don't know, but we are not going to use that going forward. Okay, so I have this top section all gridded up. It's not all the way up because I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I need to do 4 more rows up this way, and that'll take care of the horizontal rows for the top half of my stocking. And then I'll continue doing that on the bottom half, just making my stitched area as large as it needs to be according to the pattern. And then once I've got all of my horizontal rows done, I'll go back in and do my vertical rows the exact same way. And then I'll end up with something similar to this, where my whole stitching area has these little plus signs. And when you have those cross sections pointed out on your pattern, it can help you, or at least it helps me, keep on track with where the stitch is supposed to be in relation to those cross points. There are other ways of gridding your fabric. I know you can purchase the Easy Grid. I think it's called Easy Grid fabric. So it's fabric that has the grid printed on it in a water-soluble ink. So like you soak it or wash it and it comes off. That's probably fine if you're doing something that's like a full coverage pattern, but if you have something here with a lot of open area, like this has a lot of open area in the pattern, I wouldn't want to see those lines. I wouldn't want to risk those lines not washing away. And if you're using like an over-dyed floss, something other than DMC, you don't want to wash it because then the colors might bleed. I've seen where people have like lined up a quilting ruler on top of it and marked with either a water soluble pen or like a heat erasable pen. The water soluble pen, you still have the same issue of the water soluble part. The Frixon pen, I've heard of people having problems with those lines reappearing after. And getting them to go away. So I like this method because once you're done stitching, like even in this area when you're done stitching, you just cut these loops here in between and it pulls out. See how easy that's pulling? Where is this pulling from? Okay, I had left a bunch of slack. So when I go and do my up and down rows, I'll probably leave a little bit of slack in between so it doesn't cinch it up. But just look at how easy this pulls even through all that stitching. So I just pulled all the slack out of this end, and I mean I can even see how easily that pulls back out. Now I'll stretch it back out because I'm not done stitching this piece. You might say, well, that section doesn't have a whole lot of stitching yet because you've only done the top. So let's take a look at this strand here that's underneath all this tiny white stitching. I don't have any fingernails, but see how easily that pulls? So I would very easily be able to pull it out after I'm done stitching. And it doesn't leave my stitches loose at all. Some of these spots the stitching actually covers up the little cross, and some of them I tried to go under it or around it instead, but it really doesn't matter. I'll just stitch right over the top of it and then pull the stitches out when I'm done. There's no lines that you have to worry about washing it away and the color's not bleeding or heating it up enough to get the colors to disappear. I just really like it for these very detailed, complex projects. Another thing I wanted to mention really quick about a kit like a DMC kit is it comes with a lot of floss. So here are my 2 floss cards for this kit, and these strands are about a yard long. If you just leave them on these cards, they will become a tangled up mess. When you want to get a strand off of it, if you come down to this other end, you can just pull a strand and keep pulling up at the top, and then you can just pull one strand off. That's how you can get them off. But what I like to do to keep my threads from becoming a giant mess is I want to transfer them to a floss card. So I purchased some of these off of Amazon, and I actually want to start using them on some of my other projects as well, so I don't have my entire bobbin of that DMC color stored in that project for however long it takes me to finish it, and then I have half of my collection of DMC missing. So I want to start transferring them to these floss cards. They're pretty inexpensive. They're just cardboard. For my smaller projects, I plan on writing them in pencil so I can reuse them. But for something like this, I'll go ahead and write it in a permanent marker, and then I'll just cut that color off, loop it over. You can do it once or twice. Let me make sure I get this other strand in. Now, if you loop it over once like this, it shortens the length of your floss, and you can pull out one strand without having to untie it. So that's what it looks like on the other side. So if you have it looped just like this, you can use your needle to just grab one strand and pull it out very easily. So that is what I will do with all of these floss colors. So here I have one color card done. I've gone from this, which you can tell is even already tangled after just trying to sort them, to this. And you can even, if you want, you can add the symbol. So once I get the other floss card done like this and the rest of my gridding done, this kit will be ready to start stitching. Thank you so much for joining me on this little gridding tutorial. If you have any other questions or anything else that you would like me to explain, at least my process for, go ahead and leave those in the comments or any questions, and I will get back to you the best way possible. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.